If you're having problems in your relationships with your husband, with your boyfriend, your son, or even just your girlfriend relationships that you have, today is the day you should be watching Kim Gravel and the ATL. I have Natasha LaMarr. She is a certified counselor and life coach, and we're going to talk about women in our relationships right here on Kim Gravel and the ATL. The subject today is women and relationships, and two of my most favorite things to talk about. And I've got Natasha. Thank you for coming on, girl.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad. I just want to dive in because we don't have. We could talk for hours. I know.
Absolutely.
But I want to know what thewivesinc.com, what your organization does. What is The Wives Inc?
Okay. The Wives Inc. is an organization where we prepare singles, enrich marriages, and strengthen families. We do a lot of workshops on how to prepare single women, on how to maintain and create healthy relationships. We also work with wives on how to be able to support and encourage and be able to stand next to their husbands to support him. And also we work with a lot of blended families on how to maintain a healthy relationship, how to have your voice, because we have a lot of couples coming from different places with different experiences, with children coming from different experiences as well, so how they can live together as a family.
Yeah, the blended family's got to be probably a big part of what you do, because that has got to be hard. But I've got to just talk about women and relationships, because we were talking before even the cameras were even rolling about how important relationships are to women. And you said something that just blew my mind. And you were talking about marriages, and the big problem is communication.
Absolutely. Communication is one of the key things that happens in relationships that we just take for granted. We just assume that our mate will understand, or that they'll know what I'm saying, or they'll know what I need, versus being able to effectively communicate that. So being able to communicate is a skill that needs to be taught. Okay. Let's break down communication, because we say that word is thrown a lot around in the counselings and the churches and just in general. What do you mean by communicate? Give me an example of how a woman should communicate to her husband if she has a problem with him. Okay. Because I can tell you how I do it at the house, and it's probably not the right way. Understanding your mate's love language. There's 5 different languages: words of affirmation, gifts of service, act of service, touch, physical touch. And so just understanding.
But isn't that in every man's physical touch?
Absolutely. However, we can't just assume that it's physical touch, because some men love to be affirmed, and that makes them feel loved. So just making sure that you're able to communicate and ask a question. Did you understand? Or what is it that I just said to you? Or what is it that you need from me so that you can do what it is that you need to do? But just being able to communicate those things, and not just assuming that once you say something one time that they understand or that they know what you're saying, because oftentimes they don't. So just asking those questions.
How does expectations come into play with women in their relationships? Because, I've noticed this about myself, that I have all these expectations of my husband, or even my best girlfriend, or, they should feel what I'm feeling, or, be able to recognize, fill in the blank.
Okay. Well, we need to understand that women are nurturers, and so we nurture each other. Men aren't necessarily nurturers. They're providers and protectors. And so we shouldn't assume or expect for them to come home and say, oh, not to say that some men can't be nurturing, but so that they won't come home and process their feelings, or that they won't come home and necessarily say, well, what is it that you need, or how are you feeling today? Men are matter-of-fact type of men. They work on facts, not necessarily emotions or feelings. And just, we talk about realistic expectations. There
you go. There's the key. Natasha, that's it.
Yeah. So where are our expectations created? Is it television? Is it your mom? Or is it a friend that never really had a healthy relationship? Where do we get these expectations? And that's something that we all have to talk about.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I just had a moment of realizing our expectations are based on our experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. And so we expect for people to understand what we've been through, how we've been through things, and so that they can relate to us, but that's not always true. We have to definitely communicate those things to them so that they understand what it is that we need and want.
Why do you think we don't communicate, Natasha, like we should? Is it we're just too lazy, or what? Why do you think we don't because that's an easy question to ask. Did you understand me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That seems like such a simple question for me to ask. I wonder why we don't do that.
Well, I think women do communicate. And because we are communicating beings, we're very communicative. We communicate a lot.
Yeah,
However, men aren't always that way, where they say women have about thousands of words, but men only have a couple of hundred. And they use most of them at work. And so just being able to know how to communicate the language that he can hear.
Recognize.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's one of the things. And put forth the effort and just not assuming that communication is as easy as we take it to be.
How does our emotions as women affect our relationships, Natasha? Let's take it out of the marriage scenario and let's put it in women with other women and friendships, because sometimes those can get a little volatile, catty, and even downright sometimes mean girl.
Yeah.
Especially with young girls, Natasha. I see this a lot with teenagers, early 20s. How can we help that?
Well, that's a big one.
It is, but to me, it is so important for us to have our friendships.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it's like we love them and then we cut them.
Yeah. It's all about respecting boundaries. Yeah, respecting your boundaries, respecting your peers' boundaries, not just assuming that people are just like you. And so that goes back to respect in your home training. Oftentimes, we communicate with people the way that we were taught to communicate.
That's true.
For instance, if you grew up in a household where you all didn't sit down and kind of talk about some of the issues, if you all went directly to fussing or cursing or just shutting down, that's oftentimes how we communicate. And so it's not until we're taught how to effectively communicate, how to meet that person's need, how to tell them what it is that you need, and so they can openly say, you know what, I can meet that expectation, or you know what, I just can't do it. And so you can have a choice to be able to say, you know what, I don't want to keep this relationship, or I want to keep this relationship, or these are some of the things that we can work on in this relationship to make it healthy.
How important is being real and authentic in your relationships? And how important does that play into having healthy relationships?
It's very important. It's almost like...
Because you hear that word all the time.
Yeah. It's almost like when you're authentic, you create an environment of safety. And where you can be safe, people can disclose stuff that makes them feel comfortable. If a person doesn't feel safe, they won't disclose who they really are. And how can I meet you where you are or effectively communicate with you if I don't know who you are? So being authentic is critical in relationships.
Is that done a lot, though? Because I just feel like that we're missing that thing.
Yeah. People are fake oftentimes.
They're fake, girl.
And
we all are there. I mean, we're all guilty of it. I'm not accusing anybody. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but it makes me mad sometimes that I just can't just,
Yeah. Well, people can't embrace you if you're fake. If you're fake, you're saying that your favorite color is red.
I think that's getting feeling ugly.
Absolutely.
It's actually brought us so much closer together. It's a partnership.
Yeah.
We're working. What is one thing that you would tell newlyweds or young girls who are engaged, getting ready to walk that aisle? What's one thing that you would share with them from your experience of your personal relationship with your husband?
One of the things that I would definitely encourage individuals to do is to talk, to make sure that you all are compatible. Because without compatibility, then it's hard to communicate.
What does that mean? Because it's not just you like, right?
Gets mad, if he likes his time, being able to honor that and giving him his time and allowing us to be able to be compatible in that area. For instance, you have some wives that when the husband needs, their time, the wife continues talking. To get your
It's just being able to have respect.
Yeah, have respect, being able to respect each other's boundaries. Absolutely.
How can people get a hold of you, Natasha, if they're wanting to go to some of these conferences or have you speak at one of their events or on this particular subject?
Yes, you can go to the website, and it's www.thewivesinc.com, and there's a message panel. We do workshops once a month at...
oh, do you really?
Yeah, we do, and they're free.
Oh, tell me about the workshops.
Yeah, because our goal is to empower our they can have relationships with their spouses, with their boyfriend, even with their families and friends.
What do these workshops?
We come from a biblical perspective, the role of a godly wife. We talk about communication. We talk about finances. We talk about sexual expectations, what is expected from a wife sexually as it relates to the Bible. Because we struggle in that area.
What is, real quick, we don't have a lot of time, but we should have talked about that. What is expected of us?
Your body is not yours.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's enough of my body to go around, so that's good. This part is too. So you're saying sexually we are available or should be available?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it should be something that is communicated. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what would you like to do, what don't you feel so safe doing, just having those safe words, just versus assuming that everybody knows what's going on and it worked in my last relationship, so it'll work in this relationship. So just having those conversations.
Well, and that does make you closer too. It's intimacy.
Yeah.
You know, it's the most ultimate intimacy that you can have.
Definitely.
With your husband or wife on this earth.
It is.
Oh, so you talk about sex too. Y'all got to go to these workshops now. I'm telling you, because it's important. Because we're getting these messages from the world about sexual expectations.
Absolutely.
And you're coming at it from a godly perspective.
Absolutely.
Because that's a very important part of being a wife.
Yes, it is. It's probably one of the most important, if not the important thing, because that's the only thing that your husband can't get from another woman, and that's sex. So just being available sexually for your spouse
will cause a lot of good times in your marriage and also prevent a lot of bad times too.
Absolutely.
You know, it's twofold. Okay, well, I'm telling you, thewivesinc.com, Natasha, we could go on and talk about this forever, but I'm so glad that you're out there in this realm, speaking, teaching, mentoring young women.
Okay.
Because relationally, it's what it's about. We're all about relationships.
Absolutely.
We are. We're all about relationships. And if you want to find out more about Natasha, you can go to thewivesinc.com. And she is a certified life coach and counselor. So she has got the goods, honey. She knows exactly what she's talking about.
Yes.
And real quick, one quick thing before we go, if we don't have a lot of time. Tell me one thing you want women to know about who they are in Christ.
Okay. One thing that I would love for women to know is that we have all things through Christ who strengthens us. And often,
that's all things through Christ.
All things, definitely.
Check out Natasha. Come back and be with me.
Absolutely.
We love you. God bless.